Thank you for joining me on yet another adventure. Here at Shed Some Light's channel, we dive into the ancient religions, explore their sacred text, study their occult rituals, and then compare them to their equivalent in every other religion and culture that followed in their same footsteps. Today I have something a bit different for you all. Today's video is about the things that go bump in the night. If you have ever wondered about the origins of fairies, ghouls, gnomes, dwarfs, devilish imps, witches, werewolves, vampires, and Bigfoot, then you are going to have to go back in time with me. All the way back to ancient Babylon, Egypt, and even Sumer, where the creatures of nightmares were first encountered. Before I show you where they originate, let's first take a look at some of these descriptions and the little bit of history related to each culture whom have had encounters with these mystical creatures of our worst nightmares. Starting, of course, with the nightmares itself. The old hag, or mare as they were called, is a malevolent spirit that suffocates a person during the night. The reason I am referring to the mare in present tense and not past is due to people still having encounters to this day with these nightmares. It is considered a form of sleep paralysis, but as the history will show, it has a lot more to do with the supernatural than simply a person's state of mind during REM sleep. So let's take a look at the mare in a few cultures. In Poland, the mare was considered to be an evil disembodied spirit that either belongs to a witch or a goddess of winter. This diabolical witch partook in the witches' Sabbath on summer and winter solstice, also known as the seasons of the witch. Beltane was the first gathering of the Celtic witches, and All Hallows' Eve, the second most important Sabbath gathering. The witches' Sabbath was attended by witches whom could astral project, and whilst leaving their bodies sleeping, their spirits could travel on various animals to travel to the location of the witches' Sabbath. It was a nightly gathering whereby all witches around the world could attend in spirit at one location for the purpose of meeting with other high-level sorcerers, exchange knowledge, or be initiated into special pacts with the devil. The mare, or Mara, as it is pronounced in Polish, was considered to be a spirit or soul of a sinful woman that would have been considered prostitutes. They were also considered to be vengeful spirits due to rejection when they were alive. There is an old proverb that states, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned," which comes from a 1697 play called The Mourning Bride. The meaning behind this proverb is even older than the line in the play. There was another play in 1969 that hints at the same line. Collie Cibber's play, Love's Last Shift, 1696. "He shall find no fiend in hell can match the fury of a disappointed woman." This proverb may only be dated to the 1696 play, but the meaning behind the fury of a scorned and rejected woman finds its true origin in the ancient goddesses of mythology, which again can be traced back to ancient Sumer. When the Sumerian goddess Inanna flaunts her beauty in front of King Gilgamesh, Gilgamesh refuses the sexual advances of the goddess Ishtar, which is the East Semitic equivalent of Inanna, leading the enraged Ishtar to demand the bull of heaven from her father Anu so that she may send it to attack Gilgamesh in Uruk. Gilgamesh and his trusty friend Enkidu kill the bull, and then to add insult to injury, Enkidu hurls the bull's right thigh at Ishtar, taunting her, which results in the gods condemning him to death, and starts the conquest of Gilgamesh in the search for immortality. She is not the only scorned goddess that takes revenge on men. Greek mythology are full of epic tales of not just the revenge and punishment of scorned and insulted goddesses, but also scorned brides. Medea was the wife of Jason of the Argonauts, who was in a sense a lover of many mistresses and a womanizer. When he decided to marry another woman, Medea took revenge on him by killing their children they had together. These acts are still carried out to this day by many scorned women, especially those that have been betrayed by their lovers or husbands. Not so much killing of the children occur, but women tend to withhold their children from having any contact with their fathers. Many scorned women turn to lustful, promiscuous behavior after experiencing the heartache of betrayal from the male sex. Some even grow such a hatred for the opposite sex that they turn their sexual attraction to the same sex. In ancient times, women like Medea also turned to witchcraft to curse their male lovers, In Medea's case, she was believed to be the daughter of Circe, a sorceress. That was the most well-known femme fatale of that time. She would seduce men, luring them onto her island. When the men, driven mad by their desire for her, visited the island, she used a spell to transform them into hogs, thereby trapping them forever in their ignominious bodies. So the fury of a scorned woman is as old as time, and it's not that unlikely that the spirit of a scorned woman could return to the living to execute revenge on either the person or even likeness of the person, by which they experienced such immense suffering and rejection. So just as the Taylor Swift song states, "These spirits are your worst nightmare but are dressed as a daydream when they come to visit you at night in the form of a succubus demon." It was believed that the Mara or mare that visit at night, which is where nightmare is derived from, had the ability to shapeshift into animals and even objects such as cats, frogs, yarn, straw, and even apples. The main function and purpose for the mare's visitation was to drain its sleepless victims, as well as cattle and horses, of their energy and blood at night. Just as the witches of the Sabbath gatherings drained their victims, often infants, of their blood and thus fed on their life force, which in the afterlife continues to drive them. In Russia, the Mara were said to be invisible, but it could take the form of a black shape of a woman with long shaggy hair, which she combs while sitting in a yarn. This image can be found with fairy tales of the Banshee. The Banshee of Irish mythology can trace its origins to the fairy serpent woman that was the daughter of a king of the Picts and his scorned fairy bride. The Mara could also take the form of a beautiful woman and visit men at night, especially when they were sleeping alone in the nude. These men were considered vulnerable and easy targets for the succubus to visit at night, as they would give them explicit sexual dreams, and when they did, these men would expel their semen, which the succubus would gather, alter, and create demonic offspring through. Kind of sounds like some claims of abductees that have claimed they have seen alien-human hybrid children, or they have been told that they are the parents of these so-called alien-human hybrid children. Puka is an Old Irish word for ghost or spirit. In Old English, it was described as a goblin spirit. These ghost-like goblin spirits were considered to be both benevolent and malevolent, and could choose to bring good or bad fortune to those they choose to reveal themselves to. These spirits were said to be shapeshifters and could take the form of horses, goats, cats, dogs, raven, fox, wolf, and hares. These animals are usually known as familiar spirits to witches and warlocks, especially those whom have been born into generational occult families. They could also take human form, but would often have animal features such as ears or a tail, similar to the changeling in fairy folklore. The Scandinavian and German counterpart of Puka is Puki, and it actually means mischievous demon or devil. It most commonly takes the form of a sleek black horse with a flowing mane and luminescent golden eyes. This sounds very similar to the Norse tale where Loki took the form of a mare to lead away one of the giant's horses that assisted in rebuilding the walls of Asgard. Loki, in his female horse shape, happens to give birth to Odin's eight-legged horse, Sleipnir. The Manx Glashtan is yet another type of Puka spirit, who often took the form of a water bull and dwells in the sea or streams, like the Kelpie. It was said that the Manx spirit would often take the form of a human, but he usually betrays his horse's ears. There is an ancient legend, according to the Merovingian origins, that speaks of a sea creature, which resembles this very same Glashtan Puka spirit. According to the Merovingian origins, the very founder and first ancestor of the Merovingian dynasty was fathered by the wife of Clodio and the Quinotaur, a supposed legendary sea creature that is mentioned in the Chronicle of Fredegar. You may just think that these are just myths, folklore, and tall tales for ascending kings to claim legitimacy for their rulership. So if you consider these stories just mythological, then I wish to draw your attention back to ancient Sumer and to a character in the Epic of Gilgamesh that has human form but is depicted with animal features, this character being Enkidu. Let's not forget that the Sumerian god of trickery, wisdom, and arts was also associated with a mythical sea creature called the sea goat, which is connected to the constellation Capricornus. There are many tales in Celtic and Gallic folklore that speak of people having encounters with these mischievous puka spirits. Some claim they have even gone on a wild ride of their lives on the backs of these shape-shifting creatures. Others have had intercourse with them, whether by will, unwillingly, or what they perceive as just a dream state. Another one of these legendary characters that is said to have been fathered by a puka-type spirit is Puck from Shakespeare's Midsummer Dream, which is also called Robin Goodfellow. The Spanish Mandeville discusses the mischievous spirits, Ludovico. I pray you let me somewhat understand your opinion as concerning Robin Goodfellows and hobgoblins, which are said to be so common that there is scarcely any man but will tell you one tale or other of them, of which for my own part I believe none. But do make reckoning that every man forgeth herein what pleaseth him. Antonio. Many of them without doubt are forged, and many also true, for these kinds of spirits are more familiar and domestical than the others, and for some causes to us unknown, abide in one place more than in another, so that some never almost depart from some particular houses, as though they were their proper mansions, making in them sundry noises, rumors, mockeries, gauds, and jests, without doing any harm at all. Perhaps some hauntings of houses and poltergeist activity can be attributed to these puka spirits. You may just think it's only a ghost that is haunting houses, and yet this activity and possible explanation for certain mischievous hobgoblin spirits being once worshipped as domestic house spirits may have a rightful claim to certain areas and locations where houses have been built. Next time you hear strange noises in your quiet yet haunted house, see furniture move on its own, or encounter any strange creature, animal or otherwise in your home, be sure to leave out some cold iron. Legend has it, these evil spirits, whether fairy or demonic, both fear cold iron. And if that doesn't work, why not try call out the name of Jesus and see what happens? I'm pretty sure you can see many similarities between these nightmares, sleep paralysis, witches, puka spirits, fairies, and their offspring that have been encountered from the time of ancient Sumer in Greek and Norse mythology and legends, to Celtic folklore, to the more recent accounts of the Kentucky goblins and spring-heeled jack encounters in Britain. The purpose of this video was to show the viewers that these spirits are not mere imagination and mythical beings, and those behind Hollywood's black screens know this. Many occultists are considered bohemians, and as my bohemian video has shown, these spiritual beings from myth and fairy folklore are venerated at Bohemian Grove, so much so that they would even imitate these creatures in their bohemian plays. At the same time, our children are being programmed through Disney to think of these creatures and fae, demonic spirits as friendly, helpful creatures. Yet the grown-ups are being laughed at for even thinking or suggesting these beings are real and people truly have and still are having encounters with them. I did aim to have this video much longer and upload it in time for Halloween, but unfortunately I had to deal with a sick and dying beloved dog and was in no mood to finish this video during the time of care for our beloved pet. Apologies it's late. The rest of the video will be uploaded in sections under titles of their own. This is only the beginning of the Halloween special. There is much more to come, and I do hope you will return for the rest. Thank you for watching. God bless and continue to shed some light.